Hi everyone, Ron Musin. I'm with Cultivian Ventures Investment, and in fairness, we're an investor in Dr. Khaldi's company Nuritas. Very quickly, the way I tend to think of describing Nuritas is that we all know that the pharmaceutical industry has used the most advanced in silico tools, genomics, 3D structure of molecules, 3D structure of targets and binding sites, to guide the design of new drugs, and on the ag chem side, new herbicides, small molecules. Dr. Khaldi had the remarkable insight that you could use adapt many of those same in silico tools to identify peptides that would have the same pharmaceutical or agrochemical types of biological activities. And then once having identified candidates, she took the extra step with Nuritas of screening rapidly through all the sequences of all the proteins that are already in our foods, looking for those candidates. And when they find them, then they have an all-natural peptide, which we're already eating from the safely. So from the safety side and regulatory side, it's quite easy. That has biological activities of a drug or a health benefit, or et cetera. So basically, she's in the process of very cleverly replacing small molecules with small natural peptides with equivalent activity. I've seen no other company following that kind of insight, and it's quite a remarkable pool of natural products that she founded Nuritas to mine for the betterment of our society. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Khaldi, who I'll also add is a perfect example of my secret of my success, which is always invest in people much smarter than yourself.
Thanks,
Nora,
very much.
please.
Thank you. Thanks a million. Thanks for the intro. So I'm going to share some slides. I have some slides here to show you. Before that, very quickly, my own background. I'm a pure mathematician, computer scientist by background. I worked in drug discovery early on in my academic career, and then I transitioned right after my PhD and came into the whole area of nutrition. I worked at that interface between academia and industry for many years, and saw trends coming together and created a solution to identify ingredients that can improve human health. And I'm going to share some of the slides with you. And see, you should be able to see them now. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Cool. Okay. So in a nutshell, what we do is we use artificial intelligence and machine learning, and also an integration with chemistry, biology, and peptidomics and proteomics, loads of different areas in biology, to be able to unlock nature's health benefits. There's a lot outside in nature, in every plant, in every food, and we're not using really plants to their full potential. And the goal really is to deliver incredible, sustainable products, and I'll tell you a little bit more. As a company, we want to be in every home, inside our foods, inside our beverages, our supplements, skincare products, pet food, and in the future, medication as well. But really trying to give consumers the tools to, control their health, helping them to live longer, healthier, for a lot longer. And if you look at the global demand, and this is really the reason I personally came into this area, and the reason I founded Nuritas at the beginning, was that there's a clear global demand for new ingredients that not only are nutritious, but actually promote health. And currently there's a massive trend towards, healthcare system is broken. There's a whole growth in the aging population. Consumers are a lot more aware of what they're eating. They're constantly thinking about what they're eating. Is this healthy? Is it unhealthy? They're looking at ingredients more and more. And what's interesting is that they are, like, if you compare my grandparents to my parents to myself to our kids, we're all different, and we see food and the products we eat every single day very differently. And we're looking for things that can improve our health. And then there's a whole global epidemic of different chronic diseases are occurring: diabetes, blood pressure, cardiovascular issues. And what's interesting, in parallel, you have a whole digitalization enablement that's occurring. So being able to monitor, to measure changes, like, you know, glucose monitors that are now more and more readily available. Apple has recently came out saying they will actually incorporate that in their watches. And then all these wearables, all these techniques for gut microbiome and looking at your gut microbiome, your genetics, your history, and so forth. And that technology is growing and is enabling consumers to actually measure. So there is now clear need for ingredients that can actually help these different trends. And Nuritas is delivering those ingredients through the discovery of what we call food peptides, which are simply short proteins. You've heard of proteins. Peptides are simply short proteins. But unlike proteins, they're not only nutritious, they actually promote health. So they have an extra layer of health promotion, and some of the areas on the right-hand side in terms of the areas where peptides could be used. These are the areas we're working in. So, you know, immune modulation, anti-inflammation, glucose modulation, muscle recovery, sleep, and so forth. It's really allowing consumers to take control, centered all around consumers. And really, if you think about it, it's incredible to think that all the ingredients that we're currently using as a humankind in our products, whether it's food or whether it's dietary supplements, every ingredient we're using has been invented 30 to 100 years ago. It's crazy. They're all old. There's no real innovation there because it's very expensive. It takes forever. It takes about 30 to 100 years to invent an active ingredient with a health benefit. They have all been discovered ad hoc. So consumer was not at the center of their discovery. That means that basically a molecule discovered 30 years ago, and then what we're trying to do as humans is retrofit it into a consumer demand. And literally the history of every ingredient is the same. Every ingredient has been discovered many, many decades ago with different versions of it, trying to retrofit it to consumers' demand, the current consumers' demand, which doesn't make any sense when I first started working in this area. There are many, many more ingredients out there, simply that we haven't had a technology capable of creating active ingredients that can improve human health, that could be added to food and other areas. So before starting Nuritas, I really personally, I sat down and started thinking, okay, what would be the ideal ingredient? If we were to invent an ingredient, what would be that ideal ingredient where that ingredient could be used both from a food area, beverage, and dietary supplement, and so forth. And I noted a few things. One is that it's clearly the consumer is at the heart of it. So it's discovered in response to a clear consumer need. And that is the opposite, literally, of any ingredient currently that exists. It's scientifically proven and has clinical proof that, you know, what you are consuming actually physically works, and it's not just hype or marketing. Also, that is sustainable. These trends have grown significantly over the past few years, especially the past probably even 4 years. Sustainability, that they're grass, that they're actually natural food. So, and even if we could have it as an example, that it's not just an extract, but actually it's a whole food, that the ingredient itself is not far from the food source itself, is very important. And then has strong pharma-like IP, which is totally unique. In this area, IP is weak. There either is no IP because these ingredients have existed forever, and the IP stands on just production methods, which can be easily broken into. But pharma-like IP really sits on understanding the molecule you're identifying and how it works. And that's the type of IP you'd need in this area. And this is very mathematically challenging, that there are no ingredients that really tick all these boxes. And on top of that, obviously, you want a neutral taste for it to be formulated and not to take over the taste of the finished product. So you can create still tasty products at the end. It has to be cost effective. It has to be stable through food processing. So that means if you put it through a whole heat processing and baking, that the activity, the health benefits you have at the beginning resides at the end. And then also that it's classified as a nutrient. So that means that it's regulatory friendly. Small molecules aren't regulatory friendly, like proteins are, they're nutrients. So if you look at all this, currently there are no ingredients that obey all this, and that's the issue. And as technology moves and as consumers become more knowledge base, and the industry of the food industry and the dietary supplement industry become also knowledge-based industries, you need active ingredients that are tailor-made for specific populations. And that's what we're doing. So when I put this list together, one thing came up: peptides, specifically plant peptides. So plant peptides are literally hit all those different areas. They are short proteins. When you eat the plant itself, you only get the nutritional benefit. But what's interesting is that what we do is unlock those peptides from the plants in a whole foods way, in a food processing way, to allow those health benefits to be expressed to consumer. So in a way, in a nutshell, we deliver sustainable plant protein and leverage its value beyond that nutrition value into a health value. So Nuritas finds the lost beneficial peptides and makes them available to consumers. And that's really interesting. So peptides were the area we focused on to create those types of ingredients that tick all consumer boxes. And basically, again, Nuritas is the only company really putting all these trends together. So you usually either have natural, plant-based, sustainable, very little science then, or you have a lot of science, but actually it's a pure molecule created either by purification or by super extracting a molecule from a source material, or by cloning through yeast or bacteria. And it's rare to actually bring all these together. And that's really what Nuritas is doing, with the heart being consumer trends. So looking at a consumer trend and discovering an active that goes after it. So in a nutshell, if you look at the consumer and the market in general, where things are going, you can see that the food industry is shifting towards a little more sciencey. And it's not about, again, curing disease. It's not about that. It's literally about fortification, functional food, where you get a tasty product with the health benefit that's are healthier for you in general, whether it's an energy drink that's healthier for you, or a product that allows you to sleep better, and so forth. So it's going to a little more science. And then from a dietary supplement perspective, that kind of movement between the dietary supplement into more precise, personalized nutrition, and adding, because there's a complete lack of consumer trust in that area, there needs to be more science, more precision in that area. And really there's a white space there, where current ingredients are not really made for these shifts, and these are caused by consumer demand. Nuritas really gaps that, so we're addressing that issue with the Nuritas inside ingredients, which I'll talk to you about. So using our platform technology, we're capable of finding these ingredients. And very quickly, I'm just going to go through it really quickly. At the start of it, you see on the left-hand side, we identify very clear consumer trends in the market. For example, sleep is a big issue. Immune modulation is a big one. Muscle health is very big, which I'll talk to you about. We identify a consumer trend where there's a clear measurability in it. And the reason for measurability, like either a wearable that exists that measures a biomarker in that area, or something like, and the reason here is for adherence. You want your ingredient, once it's in a product, that people adhere to it and they use it for longer periods, because they can measure if they wish to, because that's where technology is going to. So you want to create ingredients that are developed in parallel to technology, whether technology is used or not. So that consumer trend is translated into a biological question. Our machine learning technology now can take that and literally go after many different source materials, mainly food plants and plants, specifically foods, where it starts looking and data mining different peptides. We have about 30 billion peptides in every food source. That's a lot of peptides. And it identifies those peptides that may have that health benefit. We then produce them in the lab. We test them to see if they work. We do this in an iterative manner because it's machine learning. So it learns from the positives and negatives of that testing. And then we go into preclinical, into human clinical once we're happy with something. And in parallel, we're scaling the ingredient. And then we create these tailor-made ingredients that tick all the boxes I told you about in about 1.5 to 1.8 years. So a lot less than the 30 to 100 years currently used in the industry. And this cycle here can be, we can create multiple ingredients in parallel. So it's not one at a time, we can create them in parallel. And very quickly, again, the technology itself is obviously much faster, 15 times faster than the 30 years. It's more successful, it's 53 times cheaper, etc. We've built a lot behind the scene in terms of, we've tested about 265 million peptides, that's a lot. I'm going to show you some of the ingredients we're launching, but behind the scene we have about 3 million different peptides that we know exactly what consumer benefits they have, and those are going to be developed in the future. We have the largest peptide library in the world currently. Our goal as a company is really to unlock the health potential that currently no one knows, and we're not using it the right way in all plants, in all plants sequenced on Earth currently in the next 3 to 4 years, so every plant on Earth. We cover about 60% of health areas, from sleep, immune modulation, and so forth. And really, we're mingling this whole technology, nature, and biology in a way never done before. And we've been doing that for now 5.5 to 6 years. So we've accumulated a lot of proprietary data behind the scene. These are the ingredients we have developed. So this is really the tippy top of the iceberg. We have on the left-hand side some of the areas we're in. So muscle health is one, skin health, metabolism, heart health, gut health, preservation is a big one, sleep, immunity. And like I said, there are many more behind the scene at different levels of development. And we're launching PeptIYouth. We've launched already PeptIYouth. PeptiStrong is pre-launch and PeptiForce is coming behind it. Then very quickly, just to show you that, these are the consumer trends from a food perspective, all consumers who seek health benefits from food, as you can see, weight loss at the top, energy and so forth. And this is where our ingredients reside. So we've picked based on really very clear consumer trends where measurability exists. And all of these are, PeptiStrong, for example, is one that we discovered in fava beans. So it's a fava bean hydrolysis with very specific peptides that target muscle health. And muscle health is one of these incredible growing areas that's becoming massive. And currently there are no solutions to tackle our muscle health, our biggest organ, responsible for our metabolism, our movement, and energy. And then so PeptiStrong is one from fava bean, again, has a specific peptides that target that. PeptiForce is from pea protein. And then PeptIYouth is from pea as well, a different peptide. And then the outputs of the technology itself, we have focused our technology specifically on human health and some of the areas I told you about. We also started working behind the scene on replacements. So these are sustainable replacements, like, for example, food preservation is one where current preservatives are not healthy or safe in any way, and there needs to be a food grade safe ingredient that you can add that actually protects the food for longer. And we have proofs of concepts coming through there and development. Other areas like alternative cost-effective plant-based media for cell culture. As you know, serum is used for cell culture, which is animal-based. It's super expensive as well. Identifying a plant-based version of serum is totally doable. We have very small proofs of concepts there as well. So really the technology can do both health creation of ingredients that really target certain consumer trends, and then separately replacing very large markets with that currently have solutions that really don't work or are unhealthy. We have been, we're trusted. We have been working with the largest companies in the world through upfronts and royalties. Again, some of the companies we're working with for the past few years. We have, proven the platform on and on again. We started to publish some of our science last year, actually, as we are launching our ingredients. So we have so far 12 peer-reviewed publications with 59 patents, and these, like I said, are pharma-like. They're extremely unique in this area. So it's all about the molecular structure and how that works, which is, again, that's the let's say the most effective way of patenting a product. 3 ingredients ready to launch or have been launched. We've done about 12 human clinicals, 8 of which are randomized double-blind placebo clinicals. And then we have, like I said, 3 million peptides behind the scene ready to develop. So a lot happening. We have really a world-class team based a little bit around the world, mainly in Ireland and the US. So a lot of the companies they've worked in below, and then we're really backed by some incredible guys like the Cultivian Sandbox guys behind. And thanks, Ron, for the intro. And also Visvera and New Protein Capital as well. And then we have an incredible advisory board that have been really hands-on. So Indra Nui, ex-CEO of PepsiCo. We have Jorg, who headed the whole consumer division of Bayer and knows how to grow products and has been on both sides of ingredients and the products themselves. Guru, who has launched again thousands of products. Nick Rosa from NutraSweet perspective and so forth. I won't go into them all. And then very quickly, my goal here today is really to talk to you about Nuritas, to make you aware of what we're doing, and also talking to different strategics in terms of our ingredients. And this is the way we work with companies. We either, we have a technology that has really a lot of value and can create any ingredients, and we either co-develop ingredients together, or we create our ingredients, take them all the way, and then take them as a B2B branded Nuritas inside ingredient in your own products. Very quickly, like I said, we're based in Ireland. That's the facility there, and then US offices also in Boston. And I'll stop here. I think I've spoken enough.
Well, thank you very much, Nora. And that's quite a bit of information that you packed into your presentation, but you've done a whole lot, so you needed to. So we have a couple more questions for Nora right now before we head back into the main room. Who wants to go first?
Yeah, so this is Eric. So question for you, Nora. I'm just really fascinated by the work that you're doing. But one of the challenges is the efficacy of, proving the efficacy. That it's one thing that it seems like, study may show that it should be effective against these, immune systems, sleep and all that. But what success have you had in terms of the clinical studies? And are those clinical studies enough to convince, the Dannons and Nestle's of the world that, yeah, that's good enough. I'll put it into my product and make some claims around it?
Yeah, absolutely. Good question. So Eric, the way we develop our ingredients is very unique in terms of we try from the very beginning of the invention to create ingredients that are efficacious. And efficacy is based on, okay, are they going to biologically act first? Are they going to be stable? Are they going to be orally available? That means that, they resist digestion. Are they going to be, bioavailable and so forth? So those areas, we've built a lot of data behind the scene, thousands of different data points to create predictors. So at the very beginning, when we're identifying an ingredient, we're selecting for all those at the same time, not just efficacy, but are they going to be, heat stable even for baking? Are they going to be bioavailable, orally available, and so forth? So what we saw is that there's a 60% success rate to go from a computer to a cell, okay? And then from a cell to a human, we skipped, so in between, we also do it in between, but to give you the numbers, from a cell to a human success, meaning that you get significant efficacy in a double-blind placebo clinical, that's an 80%. And those numbers are massive, are absolutely massive in whatever area you're in. So, and the reason we get those success rates is because at the very beginning, we're eliminating any issues along the road that are going to really alter or reduce the risk of us of the peptide not continuing. So absolutely, our ingredients at the moment are formulated and moving forward with the best in the world. We don't do just one clinical, we're adding clinicals as we're speaking. So PeptiStrong, for example, would have by the end of this year 3 different human clinicals, all showing efficacy, 2 of which are double-blind placebo clinicals with significant results. Force has one double-blind placebo clinical, but we're intending to do another one. So as we diversify the ingredient and take it from an area to another, we add a clinical. And because we know how the molecule works, it's not random. These
Right.
clinicals, we know exactly how they work, so we can take them in the population where we see efficacy. So it's not just random testing like before. Okay.
Thank you.
Great. Well, Nora, unfortunately, we are out of time.